is to inspire and equip the next generation of aviators. We achieve this by offering educational aviation seminars and tours to high school students. Our media channel, we provide our audience with relevant information on aviation filled through panel discussions, interviews with aviation professionals. We offer high school students the Junior Aviator course to broaden their understanding of aviation as well as increase their chances of getting into top aviation schools. We also offer Aviation Refresher and Advanced course on aviation topics. All our courses are carefully designed by aviation experts with international aviation qualifications in a wide range of aviation disciplines. The courses are designed to equip aviators with modern and relevant skills applicable in today's aviation world. Inspire, equip, empower, Flight Wings Aviation.
Good evening, everyone. Greetings, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on the times when you are joining us from. Welcome to the Big Sky with your host, Isaac Yami, and his co host, Miss Gugu. Good evening, madam.
Good evening, how are you?
How you doing?
I'm doing great, and you?
I'm doing awesome. And how was your day?
My day was good.
Awesome. Great, 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 great. Greetings, everyone. Big Sky, a show where we get to explore the unlimited possibilities of aviation. And if you're joining us for the first time, welcome. And this show is proudly brought to you by Flight Wings Aviation, an aviation education consultancy which runs by the mantra equip, inspire, and empower. So if you're new here, thank you so much for joining us. And one thing that we usually do is we have our comment section open. Feel free to engage with us, ask questions to our guest. Anything that you want to know, basically do use the comment section and also tell us where you're watching us from. I would love to believe that we're international, and we are international. So share with us where you're watching us from and where you're joining us from. So, getting to the business of today. So today we have an interesting guest. Oh, every single time we always have interesting guests, but today we also have an interesting guest and
Another.
another one, right? But before I get there, I'll allow Google to greet the viewers nicely. And I think I was talking too much. I mean, you can greet the viewers and all of these things and any announcements that we have What's happening on the 7th of December? I mean, you can start by sharing that as well.
Okay, so good evening, guys. My name is Gugu, and I am Isaac's co-host on this show, The Big Sky, Season 2. So on the 7th of December, the world will be celebrating the International Civil Aviation Day. And we have an awesome program lined up for you. So please stay tuned on our social media platforms. We'll be posting about the day as of tomorrow.
Awesome. I am very geared for that day as well. We have a very interesting line of speakers and so much content that's going to happen, and it's going to be incredible. And please feel free to mark your date on the calendar because this is one of those biggest events that's going to grace all of us and all of you guys. So today we're
And
gonna
also, sorry,
go
and
ahead.
also I think, yeah, I think like people really have to tune in on the day because they'll also get to hear from our visionary. Like people, I'm sure they don't even know the visionary behind this whole thing, but you also get to hear from the visionary himself on the day. So yeah.
Awesome. Yes, and there's so much planning that has been happening behind the scenes, and yeah, I'm quite excited as well. So today our guest goes by the name Jacob Nzvede. He is a 24-year-old Zimbabwean-born, inspirational and a trailblazer in the aircraft pilot, drone pilot, aviation consultancy. He originates from a small town in Zimbabwe, from the capital, and he attended his primary and secondary school in, he says, the dusty streets of Kadoma. However, he later relocated into the capital city where he trained to be a pilot. And without further ado, slightly a drum roll before we bring him up. Google, Google, be excited, be excited. Okay, Captain Nzvede. How are you, sir?
Hello guys, how are you?
Hi.
Great. How are
Is
you doing
my
over
video
there?
and my sound okay?
Yeah, yeah, we can hear you
Awesome.
evidently, perfectly, with
Awesome.
clarity. Awesome. First of all, I want to say thank you for agreeing to this. I mean,
Hmm.
thank you so much for agreeing to this. And I never take it for granted. Every single time you invite a guest, and they do come because we interview big people, people with schedules and all of these things. So thank you so much for agreeing to this as well. And yes, so let's kickstart today's animated discussion. So share slightly a little bit about you. Like, let's break some ice a little bit before we welcome everyone to join us in this conversation and everything. Just tell us a little bit, something that I missed that you think is very important as we break the ice before we go into today's discussion.
Oh, awesome, man, awesome. Well, it's my pleasure to be here. Uh, with a good host like you. I'm quite excited. I'm quite excited. Well, basically, I started this journey a while back. I've always been interested in aviation, and I've been a fan before I actually became an aviator. I was a fan, and since since childhood, man, I've always been wanting to be a pilot, and it's a dream come true. I cherish it every day, and I'm excited about that. And so my journey started in high school. Basically, I knew what I wanted to do. I knew what to do, and after my A levels, I went to Charles Prince Airport there in Harare, Mount Abden. Um, I started with Guthrie Aviation. I got my private pilot's license there. I think it should be back in 2015, 2016, thereabout. And I was fairly young. I was fairly young when I actually got my first PPL. I think I was around 19, 20, thereabout. And then after that, I did some hour building at Guthrie Aviation. And then I moved to SA, Johannesburg School of Flying in Jamestown, Rand Airport. Did some flying as well that side, and worked on my PPL and got my PPL, the South African one. So I've got both Zimbabwean and South African PPL, and then I started my journey to acquire my commercial pilot license, which is what I'm working on right now. And I also trained to be a drone pilot, so I'm also a drone pilot as well. So here we are, drone pilot, a private pilot, and I'm working now for my commercial license.
Lovely, lovely. I'm excited when you say drone pilot because I'm a drone pilot also. But yeah, um, this is not about me, but I'm excited when someone does say that. Um, so
Yeah.
so like your your educational background. I mean,
I
you
was
said you always
I
knew
did
that
my
you always knew.
primary I did my primary at St. John Kennedy Primary School in Kadoma, and then I went to Shungu Boys High in Kwekwe for secondary school.
And it was it always in your blood or somehow where was it in your mind that this is going to be what I have to do? I mean, like when did it click and say, okay, this is it? I mean,
Um, I can pinpoint exactly when to be specific, but I was fairly young. I was fairly young, and because my father was in the Air Force of Zimbabwe, so that's where the inspiration came. We're living in Manyame Air Base, so we saw planes in and out, and I always dreamed to be one.
wow, interesting. Google.
So, you know what? He's one of those blessed guys because he had all the exposure. And this is something that, yeah, this is something that not everyone has. This is something that not everyone has. So that is so good for you. So
Thank
Jacob,
you.
you've shared with us a brief background about your educational background, qualifications, and all. And you mentioned that you have a private pilot license and also a drone pilot license, and now you're working on your commercial pilot license, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so can you please just share with us how you really achieved all that you've achieved? Like, how did you manage and how was the process like with each and every institution that you learned with?
It's been a journey. It's been a journey. Obviously, it wasn't easy, and as you know, aviation is quite expensive. Everyone knows aviation is quite
True.
expensive. For you to just because when we started, we were Guthrie was charging around 265 US dollar per hour, and we needed about 60 hours to get your license. So we're talking big monies here. We're talking big monies here. So obviously, financial challenges to begin with, but we maneuver through, and also race plays a big role, especially for black pilots. I wouldn't want to lie and say, okay, we got it easy, or it was handed out on a silver platter for us. No, it wasn't. And I know it's a sensitive topic most guys don't want to talk about, but there is obviously discrimination in the aviation industry. It's a worldwide known fact among black pilots. So it's one of a sensitive issue most pilots don't want to talk about, but it's there and it happens and we experience it, but we soldier on, but it's there. So those are some of the challenges we had, and also some background. If because the norm, or what people expect to be the normal, or the people they expect to be pilots, they think a well-off guy, a millionaire son, or all that, but that's not the case. You just have to have your priorities right, your goals right, and you go and you get what you need to get done. So I
Okay,
think that's
awesome. So,
yeah.
all right, fine. So I actually have a question. You mentioned that your father was part of the Air Force of Zimbabwe and you grew up
Yeah.
in Miami Air Base.
Yeah.
Why didn't you opt for the Air Force route?
Ah,
you mentioned about funding, right? Yeah.
yes,
Why
definitely. Oh,
didn't you take?
I had the option. I had the option to
Yeah,
you to
yeah.
go through the military route, but I just chose my own route. Because
Oh,
I
you
didn't want
did.
a scenario whereby now I'm telling my story, and then they'll be like, "Yeah, you followed daddy's footsteps." You know, I wanted to, make my own story.
Ah, no, I understand. That's
Yeah,
cool. Okay. Isaac.
Uh, talking about growing up in an air base, right? Meaning that some of your inspiration came from there. Um,
yeah,
can we talk about your inspiration and what role did your father play into you becoming who you are in terms of your career or the career building? Well, if it's not your father, be specific with someone that actually inspired you and you feel they played a very pivotal role in you becoming who you are.
I've got quite a lot of people who shaped, who mentored, and who I admired for me to take this route. Quite a number of guys. I can name them specifically or pinpoint them, but I would say, obviously, my dad was one of the guys. And some other captains, because I usually on weekends, during weekends, I used to go to the airport just to see airplanes. I was just fascinated with aircrafts. I'm actually fascinated with aircraft, so that's where my other, say, passion or my other drive comes from. I'm fascinated about aircrafts. If a plane flies by right now, I would definitely look up, and I would want to check. Okay, that's a Boeing 777. That's an Airbus. I'm an aviation fanatic. Before anything else, I love planes. I love aviation, and obviously the National Geographic channels, aircraft investigations, all those things.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Interesting. Wow. So the reason why I ask you this question is because basically, we believe that what we do is we bring awareness to the aviation industry, and one
yeah.
of our targets is the grassroots, the
Oh yeah,
individual young people, and one of those things that you would want to have them understand where inspiration comes from, because sometimes we interview people who think about aviation later on in their life. Some people are actually very infertile and then they become aviators as
yeah,
young as they can get. But the idea or the main thrust I want people always to understand is inspiration is driven anyway. Like it doesn't
yeah.
have a timing. You can just wake
Mm.
up and you can just wake up today, and as I'm watching this, or as if someone is watching this, they can be inspired. So for me, it's very inspirational and very important to hear where someone's inspiration came from. That's the reason why I did ask
Oh
you
yeah.
the inspiration as well. But let's talk about your support structure. Aviation, as you said, so aviation is a very expensive program. I think it's evidently because I mean after that the paycheck is going to be like something else. So how
It
how
used to
how
be. It used to be.
so how did you maneuver that? Like, how was your support structure in terms of how did you manage? Because you said some very gigantic price per hour. How did you manage to
Yeah.
circumvent and share these things? Because I mean, someone who's watching and they don't really have their funding on point. How can they also like build up on this?
Oh yeah, very true, very true. Well, I'd like to give a huge shout out to my mom. Day one, day one. She's always been supportive. After A level, I told her this is what I want to do with my life, and she never hesitated. She never asked how much. She said, "Okay, if that's what you want, then let's do it." So she's been one person. She's my bedrock. She's been supportive throughout the journey, through the ups and downs. So she's a huge role, in my life. She's been very supportive through this aviation career, and shout out to her, shout out to you, ma'am. And obviously the other stakeholders who financed and assisted, which I can't name, uh, but my mom, she stood by me. She stood by me.
Wow.
Awesome. Google is a question from our director. I feel like we can skip we can dive in that one first, and then you continue. So our director, Mr. Ngoni Tashi Machaka, is the director for Flywings Aviation, and
Okay,
he's
okay, okay.
asking a question that, for those who don't
Yeah,
know,
yeah, that's
why
it.
did you have to convert from an SACAA private pilot
Yeah,
license after
Um,
your
okay.
CAAZ?
So basically,
um,
there is a governing body called the Civil Aviation Authority. So each country has its own civil aviation authority. So the Zimbabwean governing body for aviation is called the Civil Aviation Authority of Zimbabwe. And so when I trained and got my Zimbabwean private pilot license, I got a Zimbabwean private pilot license up, by given by the Civil Aviation Authority of Zimbabwe. All right. And then when I moved to SA, I had to get another one. Right now, it was also because each country has its own regulations. So there's also another governing body. So I had to be also registered as a pilot in South Africa through the Civil Aviation Authority of South Africa, which is the SACA. But right now, because Zimbabwe is no longer part of the ICAO, so I had to also redo it in South Africa because Zimbabwe, we couldn't meet the regulations, or because there's some stated regulations which each and every country has to um, work within. So Zimbabwe, our airports and our structures, they weren't really on point. So we're not reaching the regulations or the stipulated requirements. So hence, if you get a Zimbabwean one, you have to go to South Africa and get another license, which is regulated by the South African Civil Aviation. In as much as if I want to go to America right now, I would have to convert my South African license to a American FAA license. So with every country you go, you need to be regulated to fly in that country. I hope I've answered your question clearly there.
Perfectly, you did. I think it's similar to driving as well. But
As yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
I
I didn't want to give the the driving example, but there you go.
I I actually
but
wanted
you're
to
a
know.
driver. But you're a driver.
Yeah,
Driving a plane. I mean,
you know,
okay,
you,
you say
you know,
you're
you, you
driving
know,
a
you know,
plane.
you
I
know,
mean,
pilots don't like to hear the word driving. We prefer
I
to say
know,
flying.
right?
But if yeah,
but my follow-up question then would become like this: like you speak about how you converted, and then you have to redo it again. Like, what do you mean to redo it again? What exactly are you redoing, and what kind of
so the
process is that?
exams,
Because
the exams, because look, there are regulations based within South African laws, right? So, for example, South African weather. They've got seas, right? They've got oceans. We don't have oceans here in Zimbabwe. So the weather, the meteorology, landscape there is different from the Zimbabwean one. So you need to know all those things. You need to know the laws, the air laws of South Africa, because they have a different way of doing their things. So there are different laws according to each country. So there's different laws here in Zimbabwe, but those laws may not be applying to South African laws. So hence you have to be familiar with those things and be competent.
wow, well said, well said. But is it really a tedious process? Like, do you go around and pay again so much, or because you're starting from a certain point, it's easier that way? Or like, for instance, you're advising people, like, we're watching and then we're all from Southern Africa, and
Mm,
I'm not going to ask you to advocate for a specific country. Least we're accused of that. But then the point is, like, is that a bone of contention when you're deciding to do your pilot study? Like, do you really need to have to think about where exactly do you want to work, and maybe that might save that saves your financial muscle and all of these things. Like, how do you go through making a decision that this is where I want to work, so that let's not say avoid changing the license, but to create a platform that allows you to grow in your career. Like, how do you navigate around that, and how do you give advice to people who are trying to decide where to do their pilot study and
Okay.
all of these things?
Okay. Well, um, money, obviously, money number one. As I've said, everything is expensive. Money. So you go to a country where
Mm,
you feel it's within your budget or within your range. And secondly, job opportunities. Okay, if I qualify, if I'm now a certified pilot, okay, what are the job opportunities? What's the market like? All those factors come in. Um, and is the license recognized internationally? After I get my license, do I need to, after, let's say then I get a job outside of Africa, outside of Europe, or outside of whichever continent you're in? What's the job market like? All those things. The environment matters as well. So there are a lot of factors which contribute to you making your own decisions. And availability of planes, that's also a factor, because you can go to a school and then there's only one plane there and there are 50 students. So you now, maybe per month you only fly once or twice, and you need to be constantly flying. So you have to put in, you have to think thoroughly before you make a decision like that. Also, Clarkson 90 raised a good point, yeah, on the comment section. Can I answer to that?
Yeah, yeah, yes, you can.
Um, Clarkson 90 say, how has COVID affected the training program and job markets for pilots? We're going to get there eventually. I don't know. Should I answer it now, or you're going to ask?
I think we can put a footnote on it, and then we answer it as we go.
Yeah, okay, awesome, awesome.
all right.
Um,
Thank you so much.
yeah, and another question from Christopher Manika. With developments being done at the airport currently, do you think we'll meet the regulations? Um, we
I think you
will.
can answer this one. Yeah, this one is.
Yeah, we will. But remember, it's not only one airport that will get us, approved by the ICAO. There's a
Mhm.
lot, not only just one major reconstruction of an airport, the equipment, or other airports. So there's a lot of factors that contribute to us, being part of the ICAO. So it's not only just the airport. I think I've answered that one.
Google.
Okay, great. Yeah, okay, great. So, me taking the time, I think we need to move. And from the bio, we've learned that you have a company called Kazatech,
Yes,
right?
yes. Oh, that's my
Okay, so
baby.
tell us
Ah,
more.
that's my baby. I get emotional when you when you mention that.
Okay, so tell us, what is it all about? What's the aim? What's the ultimate goal with Kazatech?
Well, Kazatech, it's always been my baby, or it's something that I've always at the back of my mind. With my,
My
my
babe.
challenges, my challenges.
Don't
I'm
let
not
your
only
real babe hear
challenges.
you say stuff like that.
um, you know, it's my challenges, my personal challenges I went through, and I said, why can't I develop something that can make it
Mhm.
easier for the next person who wants to take this route? You know, so I created that with that in mind, and with the challenges we're facing, and that's how Kazatekwa was born. And yeah,
So what exactly is Kazatech? Like, what is it? Like this, your baby. What is it? Like, who is
okay.
Kazatech?
So
What is Kazatech
Kazatek,
aiming to?
we're an aviation company. Um,
Mhm.
we are into drones. Okay, we are into aviation. So that's aircraft parts and the whole lot. went to consultation, aviation consultancy.
Okay.
There's a whole lot to it, but it's aviation based.
Uh, an
Yes,
aviation technology company.
definitely, definitely.
Okay, nice.
Mhm.
So you mentioned about like when did you birth this baby of yours? How old is Kazatek?
No, wait a minute. Is
This
it baby as in child or babe as in
As a
my
child,
one?
Isaac,
as
as a
a
child.
child,
No, as a child.
as
You
a
know,
child, as a child.
it could be my babe as in my significant
Good,
other. I mean,
good, good
or
humor, good
Baby.
humor. No, no, as in child, as in child.
Mm-hmm.
So
So how old is
well,
Kazatek? Yeah.
the idea has been growing and I've been developing before I launched it. So ever since I started the aviation journey, it was building and I kept on developing until I finally said, okay, you know what, what's stopping me from registering a company and starting? And then I registered a company, and then I started. I started because I didn't see why not, and then I started it. So I birthed in 2020. That's when
Uh,
yeah.
okay, and if I may know, how many employees do you have at the moment?
Come again?
How many employees do you have at the moment?
Um. Okay, we have three executives and about five guys on the ground.
Okay, that's cool. At the age
Yeah,
of
we're fairly
24, I
young.
mean,
We're
that's
fairly young.
okay. Um,
okay, so congratulations with your child or baby, and
Okay.
and I wish you well. But before we go into the second segment of the show, we're gonna
Okay.
disappear for a short ad break. So stay there. Do not go anywhere. We will be back just now.
Awesome.
We are back, and
that
yeah.
was a
So
short break.
go. I know, right? Like I said,
Very
short,
short.
very short, very short. But I want Google to explain the ad. Google, can you explain the ad further, and then we continue the second half of the show.
All right, so that's an EJ Models advert, and EJ Models sells aircraft models. So there are two types of models. There are HEPA models, which are more of thick plastic, and then there are the die-cast one, which is sort of metal. So the HEPA models ones are the ones that are in stock, and they're going for 40 USD each. So you just, I'm sure there were numbers there on the advert, so you can just inbox any of those numbers. And what you just have to do is to clarify the livery that you want and also the model or the make that you want. And Captain Jacob is one of our clients.
I have
Yeah,
to support. I told you I'm an aviation fan before anything
yeah,
else. Yeah.
yeah, you did. Yeah,
And as you know, when you now enter our offices at Kazatech, you just say, okay, okay, okay. It will speak for itself. So,
yeah,
yeah.
it's all
Uh,
aviation.
yeah.
Yeah, so you can get in touch with us if you want any aircraft model of your choice and we'll deliver.
Awesome, awesome. So yeah, so I think there's one more question. I think there's a question that is very important, and I think it's um I don't know, like someone asked, then the training in I don't know if it's a question. It's like the training in Zimbabwe, is it not worth it?
It is worth it. It is worth it. It is worth it. Why?
Mhm.
Because number one, you are Zimbabwean. So the nationality role comes into play. Nationality. So if you train in Zimbabwe and you're a Zimbabwean born or a Zimbabwean national, on the requirements for a job as a pilot, requirement number one, if you apply for any job in Zimbabwe as a pilot, you say, are you a Zimbabwean national? Preference goes to Zimbabwean nationals. That's number one. Number two, if you go and train elsewhere, right? When you come back to Zim,
Mhm.
you have to now convert to a Zimbabwe license. That's number two. And number three, um, as I've said, the nationality card comes into play. If you go and train in, let's say, in Namibia, they give preferences to Namibians because they prefer their nationals, their people. So if you train here, it's going to be easy and faster for you. As soon as you um, complete your training, there's always companies looking for pilots here in Zim. So you wouldn't have to through the stress of converting and through all those paperwork, all the exams, all the training again. So you are at an advantage per se. That's what I think.
Awesome.
So it
I
is worth it.
I like the way you
And
answered
also
it.
you're not, and you're also familiar with the airspace. You know the rules, you know the do's and don'ts. You are flying in this airspace, you're familiar with it. So you're not going to have challenges whereby, you getting lost, or you're not sure about frequencies, about all those other things. So you're familiar. You're familiar with the airspace, you're familiar with the routines, you're familiar with the do's and don'ts. So it is worth it.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. I want us to be more a bit more personal, and
Okay.
of course, with your permission. I mean,
Okay.
um, let's talk about your journey itself, the aviation journey, and what are the challenges that you met or you meet, and how do you maneuver around them, or how do you handle them? I mean, I believe everything's not all rosy. How's been the journey like currently, and how do you how do you handle challenges?
Mm. Um, financial financial struggle, financial challenges, financial strains. Aviation demands money. I wouldn't want to tell people who are watching and lie to them and say no, aviation is cheap. Aviation is expensive. You have to, but at the same time, I don't want to uh, downplay it as well. Um, Finances are a challenge, worldwide. If you want to train to be a pilot here in Zimbabwe, you need. Okay, I won't go into the figures, but clean 100K USD, and as you train further to make even get to 250,000 for you to complete your training. So $1,000 US, and this is in this economy, it's challenging. It's challenging and it's strenuous. That's number one. And also number two, um, aviation is not easy. Aviation is not easy. There's a lot of work that goes into the reading, the studying, the flying part itself. It's not easy. You need to be mentally prepared. You need to have a mindset like no other. You have to be mentally prepared because it demands a lot. It demands a lot mentally, physically, everything. It demands you to be 100% because also we're dealing with people's lives. So you don't want to, I'm stressed over maybe wife issues, girlfriend issues, man issues, and then I'm jumping in the aircraft and I'm carrying, 50 people in the bag, and I'm not focusing. So it's those things. Well, I'm human at the end of the day, but we need to overcome those challenges and try to minimize them and know how to manage stress, manage pressures, manage uh, deal with issues and situation. You need to be able to deal with them so that it doesn't affect you when you're performing your duties. um Did I answer you there correctly?
Yes, you did. Um, yeah.
Yeah.
Although I felt like I needed it slightly a bit personal, something that's very unique to you. I mean, something that could be a Captain Jacob moment. Like if I was watching this, I'm like, oh, okay, something that Jacob went through, and then I feel like I can resonate, and I feel like if it starts happening to me, I know how he's handled it. I needed something very, 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 very soap, very, very personal. Like that's unique to you. Like maybe it could be a story of
um.
how you got challenged, maybe with something,
Okay.
maybe a
Okay.
course, or
Okay.
how did
Okay.
you, something that's
Eh,
very unique to you.
well, I would say two things or two scenarios that have really made me at one point want to quit. I've lost friends, I've
Now
lost
we're talking.
colleagues
Now I
through
feel the.
aviation.
I now feel
Yeah.
the personal thing about to happen now. I mean,
I
exactly.
didn't I didn't want to get into it.
No, let's get into
You
it.
know
This is what we
you're a
want. This
very
is what we
sneaky guy,
want.
huh?
This is
You're a
exactly
very
what I
sneaky
need.
guy. I'm a very
Yeah.
sneaky guy. I've lost colleagues, I've lost friends. Um, it's quite sad. It's quite personal. But and also experiences that has happened to me. So back in 2015, 2016, thereabout, when I was still training for my PPL, Guthrie Aviation, we had an incident. We're flying to the general flying training area. That's where when we fly. So we don't train. When you're training, you don't go to like in that airspace where normal aircraft, or normal planes are flying towards destinations and routes. We go to our own designated area for training. So we're training, and all of a sudden, cab. So as you know, our engines are so it's a propeller driven. So our propellers and our engines are in front of the cabin. So our ledge, or our oil ledge, well, how can I describe it? But the oil cap, it wasn't properly ledged. So as we're flying, the vibrations and everything going on, it unhooked, it unledged, and then oil started coming out. And that was a big scare. That was a big scare, because all of a sudden the oil came onto the windscreen. Now we can't see. And you know how oil is. And obviously we had our wipers, but it was quite scary because now we couldn't really see where we are going. And now we are flying visual flight rules, which means we need ground reference and visual reference to fly. So that was quite scary. And that was quite scary for me. I was too young, and I was like, okay, all right, is this it? Because always people used to tell me, okay, things happen in aviation, and it's not a lie, and I've seen it for myself. But I was like, yeah, is this how I go? This how I go? And it was scary. And at one point, I came back. And I'm like, my mom, I don't want to do this. I don't think this is for me. I was about to give up, but I was like, if you're born for the skies, you're born for the skies. Because every minute you're on the ground, you want to be in the sky. And your mind is in the sky. So after some good talk, and got reset my mind, jumped in back into the skies again. That's the first instance. And obviously, in other instances, bad weather. We're flying. I don't know where we're flying from. Harare to, should be Bulawayo or Chirez. I'm not sure where. But then bad weather came, thunderstorms, full IMC, and we were VFR rated, which means I'm rated to fly visual flight crews with reference to the ground, and with a 10-kilometer visibility. So now you can't see anything. Weather is bad. Clouds are coming left, right, center. Can't see anything. You're not, you're still training, man. You're still, just got your license. Yeah, you're learning one or two things, and it was quite scary. And I had a friend of mine. We're quite scared. We're quite scared, but if you know your stuff, you know your stuff. When they okay, how if bad weather happens, what are we going to do? Diversion, should be root back, all those things. So that was also a scary moment, because you don't have an instructor in the both students, and you're like, okay. okay, now I'm in trouble. Now I'm in trouble. So it's those things whereby now you late, you're like, okay, that was a close one. But anyway, I don't listen. 2 days later, I'm back in the skies. So it's a something which where the instances whereby you think, is it really worth it? And yeah, and then I've lost guys. I've been losing people. Maybe over 5 guys now. Flown together with some of them, and some we just knew each other in the aviation space. It's a small industry, so small field, so we know each other. And at one point, we lost some pilots, good pilots. I don't know what were the causes, but aviation crashes. It was bad. It was on an air show. Should be back in 2015. Lost some good guys there. They're doing some maneuvers. And then yeah. So it's funny how we're talking like this, and then the next thing someone goes flying, and then they don't come out. It's very frightening. It hits you. It hits you. And some latest instances that happened this year, lost some other good guys. We chill together, we talk together. We are family, we're a community, and you lose people and through aircraft, and you're like, okay, is it really worth it? Should I risk my life over flying? And sometimes you think of giving up, and but it happens. Maybe today is my day. I'll jump into the aircraft, and then I'm no longer there. So it's one of those things which you should also be mentally prepared for. If I jump into this aircraft, an incident, an accident can happen at any time. That's why during our training, we have scenarios, engine failures after takeoff, engine failures in flight, go around, they always try to simulate all these emergencies so that we can handle them because it happened and we don't want to act as if it happens daily even. So those are the personal things which have hit it has hit me hard. It has hit me hard losing fellow colleagues and fellow friends through this aviation space. It's quite hard. And also, exams are hard. You fail. You fail. You can't take them, one time because remember our pass mark is 75%. Exams are really, really hard. I won't lie. Exams are hard. Pass mark is 75%. Anything less than that, it's a fail. And you only have 3 chances. So if you have 74.8, it's a fail. So you can study for weeks and weeks to go, bah, you fell 74.2. Hey, go again, you try. That's first chance. Go again, you try. Second chance, bah, 74.8. You're failing with maybe a percentage and a small percentage. It hits you hard. You feel like, why am I going wrong? You study again, maybe you get it the third time. So it's quite hard and it's quite strenuous because the hours and time and the effort that we put into studying and training. It's really strenuous, man. It's really strenuous. You give up a lot of things, sacrifice it just to put all your attention and time into this. So it's those things. So if someone is to join aviation right now, I'll tell them if you don't fail and you come crying and say, okay, I failed this exam, I am still playing. So yeah.
You know,
People being honest.
this is it. This is it. I want to give myself a pat on my back that I'm glad I insisted that you give us something personal, and it was so real. It was so real. And I remember I was watching a series. I was watching a series, and then they spoke about a series scenario called the Kobayashi Maru. So what happens with this scenario is it's a lose lose situation. Like for instance, when it comes to maybe aviation, there's a point where either the plane is going to crash or it's going to crash. Like there are times where the decision is just there's no way of rescuing whatsoever, and you need to accept that. So when
Yes,
you're
yes.
talking about all of those things, I understood that sometimes it's a lose lose. Sometimes you go up there and then there's nothing that you can
Sometimes
do,
it's a lose lose.
and genuinely,
Yeah,
genuinely,
it's a lose lose. And sometimes when an emergency comes, you have about 3 seconds to react. 3 seconds. One, two. 3. And if you don't react within that time frame, you are late. It's already an incident or an accident. So you need to think fast. You need, as I said, mental preparedness. You need to be on your game all the time, 100%. You can't say, okay, I'm having a bad day, but I'm still going to fly. Okay, I'm having a bad day, but when I'm in this cockpit, I'm no longer having a bad day. I'm the captain of this aircraft, and I'm going to fly to the best of my ability. And I'm going to take these people that I have from point A to point B safely so that they go to their families and they're happy. And there's no point during the transit of this aircraft or this route or this journey should they feel any discomfort or regret flying. They need to enjoy it. They need to relax. They need to see the views. That's their mindset as they're jumping into that aircraft. My mindset is okay, I've got 50 people. They need to enjoy their flight. They need to enjoy their ride. They need to come back more. Because also remember, it's also a business. So they need to come back more. They need to enjoy it. They need to have that experience, that memorable experience. So even though I'm having a bad day, I have to put that aside. I have to be on my game 100% as I enter into that aircraft. No room for errors. You can't come and say, okay, today someone said something, very, very, I don't know, whatever, that might have happened to you. That shouldn't limit you or be a hazard to say, okay, no, I'm not going to fly today because you have to be on your best game all the time, 100%. So, and because, as I've said, sometimes you have a 3 second window where you have to act fast. You have to say, okay, where am I? There's a field. I have to land that field. I have to land that aircraft into that dam, into that lake, into that sea. So, it's a very demanding career. Yeah, I hope I answered you there.
Yeah, you did. I mean, I actually, like I said, I'm patting myself at the back again because I'm glad I insisted. But as we're
Insistation is
moving on,
great.
sadly,
Uh, uh,
uh,
Christopher's got a question. Christopher's killing me with these questions.
Chris, you can read. You can read it up. Which one is that?
He, he just said question and then he raised a hand.
Hmm. Okay. So as we're moving closer to the end, sadly, um,
Yeah.
I would Google any final questions that you would want to ask him
Yes.
as we are closing. Yeah.
Yeah, before we close. So from the bio, we mentioned about aviation, right? But also you
Yeah.
then read out about farming and mining. Like, how did you venture into those industries and what's going on? How are you coping, considering what you're already doing in the aviation industry?
Well, I need to finance my aviation journey. Needs money.
Uh,
Hence, I'm into that. So, when an opportunity comes, you can say no. I can say no to an opportunity that comes my way. I grab it, I run with it, and I make the best of it. Because, with COVID, most guys are not flying. There's no money, there's no income from aviation side, and most guys, we have to be on the field and we need because I'm also an entrepreneur. I also believe in multiple streams of income, and I get money in aviation, I get money in other avenues. So that's just the idea behind it. Because I've got a passion that that's pushing me to be in the aviation world, but it needs to be funded, it needs to be financed. So hence I got into all these other avenues, and to just also finance my pilot life. Pilot needs to live certain way. You can't see. So I also need to finance my pilot life. No, I'm joking.
I
okay.
mean, standard of living. This is Captain. This
Pilot
is
needs to
Captain
be.
Jacob.
When they see me out there, they need to see me on point all the time. They need to know, okay, that's a real pilot
Yeah.
out there. So it needs to be financed. It needs to be financed.
Remember, he's got a
And you know how
baby
it is.
and babies. So, Yeah, he's got a
Oh
baby
yes,
and
no, but
baby,
the
so he
baby,
needs
yeah, we
money.
didn't talk much about it, but the drone industry, it's something to look into. It's growing,
Hmm.
it's developing. You'd rather be the pioneers of it before a lot of people jump into it. So I'm into drone consultancy, uh, drone works, we into security, drones for security, drones for videography, drones for mineral explorations. There's a vast it's an open field with drones. You can do a lot with it. Even to manufacture them, to service them, we do a whole lot. So if you're interested into the drone, drone industry, hit me up. Let's work on something. But we were really
Awesome.
doing well with the drones, yeah.
All right, so my last question before we wrap up. My last question would be, so in case someone is watching us right now and they're wondering where they can find you on social media, which platforms are you on and what are your handles?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram. I used to have a lot of content, but then I removed some of it. But yeah, it's only mostly it's about aviation planes. Yeah, it's CPT underscore Nzvede, and then on Facebook it's Jacob Nzvede. Yeah, I think that those are my handles.
All right, thank you so much.
Yeah, and also if you're looking for my baby, the drone company and the aviation company, it's you can look it up. It's called Kazatech. So the address should be www.kazatech.co.za.
Okay, copied. Thank you.
Awesome.
Awesome. I would like to say thank you so much for gracing us today. Um, I'm very excited about hearing more. Maybe
Yeah,
maybe behind the scenes more about the drone
behind
thing,
the scenes
because
of the
that's actually something that I actually venture into. Yeah,
yeah.
thereabout. I think I'm a month in, just in
Okay,
this segment, and I'm enjoying myself. I mean, I'm one of those people who's enjoying flying the DJIs and everything.
okay,
So
okay.
my
And
my my la-
yeah, go on.
so my last question would be, or my last contribution would be, you given a podium to speak to 6-year-olds in primary, to inspire them about aviation as young as they are. You have roughly under 2 minutes. What would you say?
I'm gonna flex and I'm gonna brag.
What
I've
would
got
you
the
say?
coolest job ever. I've got the coolest job ever. Flying is cool. Flying is cool. Where have you seen a pilot which is not cool? Pilots are cool, and it's a fun job. You guys should see me by the airport, huh? You should see me by the airport one of these days. Yeah, with my sunglasses on, with my bars, with my gold bars, and it's the coolest
uh,
job ever.
Fresh.
You know, and the moment you say, "Okay, I'm a pilot," people start to respect you. They put respect on you. Okay, now we're talking to serious people. And it's fun and it's good paying, and you live a different lifestyle than many people, and you're not ordinary because you spend most of your time in the air, while most normal people spend their time on the ground. So who
Just a
wouldn't want
moment.
that?
Are you the what visa? I'm a pilot guy. Aren't you the
That's
one?
me. I'm the
Ah,
guy.
I see.
I'm the
What's a
guy.
watch
This guy
visa?
breaks
What?
a lot. Oh my god,
Oh
this
yeah,
guy breaks a lot.
I was quite young. I was quite young, and I was really excited about being a pilot. Now I'm like, yeah, yeah.
Wait a minute. What?
So
No, no, no. Wait a minute. No, no, no. I do not like being left
that's
out.
actually a
No,
story.
no way.
That's going to
Explain
be a
what is
whole
going
hour
on.
thing.
What is going on? No, Google, you can't bring something that I do not understand. Like, what happens? Like,
I'm
tell me
sorry.
more about this.
I'm sorry, but when he started breaking, I just remembered this young pilot who used to say, "What visa? Like, why are you asking me for a visa? I'm a pilot." So then I remember
Why,
he's just
why,
break. I'm like,
why,
this is the
why would
Jacob.
you have the,
This
why
is the
would you have the
guy.
audacity? Why would you have the audacity to come to me, a whole full pilot, and ask for a visa? I don't not ask for a visa. I go to where I want to go. I jump in airplane, I go. That's just the mindset behind it. It was just a funny thing that I started, and then it got out of hand, and people were like,
It's viral.
"Ooh,"
Yeah.
but
I'm remembering
yeah,
now.
it's a funny story. People were just like, "What visa?" People see me like, "What visa?" I'm like, "Yeah, visa for who? I don't need a visa. I go wherever I wanna
I'm
go."
a pilot.
So that's how it started.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
That's incredible. Um, so with that, thank you so much for sharing
yeah.
your life and telling the whole world that you still do not need a visa. I mean, it happened back then, but you still do not need a visa. People
I
should
don't,
know
I don't,
this.
I don't, I don't
You
need
do not
visa.
need a visa.
You holler at me. Okay, my guy, where are you? Okay, I'm going a bit unprofessional now, but let me just because I think
No, this is the cool side. This is the fun side. This is the
let
cool
me just
side.
flex a bit. Let me motivate someone a bit. You have a friend. Yo, I'm in Dubai. I'm having a wedding. I'm having a party. Come through, my guy. Like, okay, cool. So for you have to apply a visa. Wait 20 weeks. I don't know how long you wait to get your visa. I don't need that. I jump into my plane. I refuel my plane. I fly to Dubai. Visa for who? So so why would a 6-year-old want to you know, have that kind of a job. Like, what's stopping you? Why wouldn't you want to be a pilot?
What's up? To that 6-year-old who's watching this,
You guys,
somehow, this was for you. This was definitely for you. And if
Yeah.
and if you're still growing up, I mean, this could still
yeah,
work. This could still work. But I just want to say
definitely.
thank you. I just want to say thank you for agreeing to this, and I wish you well. In everything you're embarking on. I mean, I personally would love to fly to be first class in whatever plane that is that you're flying. I mean, I would want to say I know the pilot. I would want to say that. I think for me that would be really dope and that would be really cool. And thank you so much for
Awesome.
to our
We get
viewers
to
as
fly
well
soon.
for
Mm.
for for joining us. Please do like, subscribe, share with your friends. We have more people gracing us on the show. Young people, old people. People who are just inspirational. So same place, same time. But then without really forgetting that next week on the 7th of December, we're having a full day of content from morning starting from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. So this is the place to be. Get your data on point. We're definitely here to stay and to give you awareness on aviation and so forth. So you've been watching The Big Sky, a show where we get to explore the unlimited possibilities of aviation, everything aviation. Brought to you by Flight Wings. We go by the three mantra words: inspire, equip, and empower. So, with that in mind, have a great evening, morning, whatsoever you're doing. Please do enjoy it. Stay blessed. Bye, everyone.
Bye bye. Cheers.
Bye.